Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
And we welcome everyone to the show. And you, of course,
fashionably late,
had to work your way around an accident, and for the first time in many years, didn't cause it. All right, so
there it is. Perfect.
I got to give you credit. You know, you've advanced so far in a short period of time. Money. That's what everything is about these days, and there will be several items coming up that all deal with money, starting tomorrow in New Orleans. The Big Ten and SEC athletic directors will have their second meeting, and of course, Tony Petitti of the Big Ten and Greg Sankey of the SEC will be there to lead the discussions. And the college football playoff meeting in Dallas is next week. In fact, I believe it is a week from today. So this meeting may set up a request by the Big Ten and the SEC to make future changes starting in 2026 to the college football playoff. They can't make any changes this year because this year you need the approval of the 10 conference commissioners plus Pete Bavacqua, the athletic director of Notre Dame. Starting in 2026, the Big Ten and the SEC have exponentially more power to make changes, and thus may be the ones that force those changes forward. So what are the changes? There's been a lot of discussion about the 4-4-2-2 1+1 model. That's 14 schools. Figured I'd add it up for you. Huh?
Right. Needed assistance.
You worry me. I asked you the other day what 2 and 2 was. You used a calculator. I mean,
I'm not sure sometimes. You know. 2 plus 2 times 2, same thing. That can't be right. I had to try something.
So the SEC would like 4 automatic bids. First of all, this is presuming that the playoff goes to 14. You might as well just go to 16.
I agree.
Because you're just going to get there eventually anyway. Just start it. That's me. Which we'll get to my basketball point a little bit later. You might as well just go to 16. Because eventually you're going to get to 16. So you might as well start it now. But back to the 4-4-2-2 1+1 model. 4 automatic bids for the SEC. Remember, this year out of the 12, they got 3. 4 for the Big Ten. This year they got 4. 2 for the ACC. This year they did get 2. 2 for the Big 12. This year they got 1. Boise State would be 1. And the +1 was Notre Dame. Now, that leaves out the possibility of at-large bids in conferences, including the SEC and the Big Ten, unless Notre Dame does not qualify into the top 14. If they don't qualify into the top 14, that becomes an at-large bid. And based on their schedule, they should get to the top 14.
Yeah,
in fact, their schedule might get weaker because they may lose Southern Cal off the schedule. So what would this then do? By having 4 automatic bids, and this goes to the SEC, not to the Big Ten, right? Because the Big Ten already has 9 conference games. The SEC has 8. By having four automatic bids, that lessens the pressure. And you can play a ninth conference game, which would be more inventory for ESPN, SEC Network, ABC, that they have control over. Number two, this would then open the door to the possibility of an SEC Big Ten non-conference showdown early in the season, which, by the way, you could then sell separately to whatever entity wants to carry it. Which, of course, means more money. If you go to 16 teams, it could possibly mean more money.
Yeah. Common denominator in every bit of this.
It's more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the new arrangement starting in 2026, the SEC and the Big Ten will get 29% of the money each, 58% of the money. That's already baked in. That'll essentially triple what they get. Big Ten schools will get about $21 million per school. SEC schools will get about 23. You're saying, well, wait a minute. Whoa. I thought you said it was 29% each. Well, remember, the Big Ten has 18 schools to divide the money. The SEC has 16. Oh, okay. I try to do this math stuff for you. So
I tell you, it's making sense.
Yeah.
That long division paid off.
I got to give you credit. Once we got past the 2 + 2 thing, you've kind of fallen into place. You've been good.
It's been picking it up big.
So that's where it stands. So you're asking, what does the ACC get? But they'll get 17% of the new college football playoff money. The Big 12 will get 15%. I believe the Group of Five gets 9%. And Notre Dame gets 1%. Right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
Right? It's right. So that's how it plays out. And now, can you resolve all this in one meeting in New Orleans? No, but they had a previous meeting, which I think set the table for some of these issues to be discussed. They'll then go to the college football playoff next week, and we'll see if they're in any position to make any changes starting in 26. The part about asking about the 14 with the 4 automatic bids for each the Big Ten and the SEC can be hammered out and done and announced by next week if they want to. They're in that kind of power position. The element about going to 9 conference games in the SEC has to be hammered out during SEC meetings, which will take place later in the year, which then in turn opens the door to a negotiation for non-conference games between the SEC and the Big Ten as a possibility. It's just a possibility. So instead of Alabama playing Mercer, which they might still do, okay, you'd have 3 non-conference games. And for Alabama, one of them may be Penn State. For Georgia, one of them may be Michigan. Right. That would, in the early season, juice up the college football interest. And we'll see how that plays out. Now, whether that rolls over into basketball as well, where there's a Big Ten SEC, I don't know. That part, can't tell you. which then leads into basketball. Let's talk about what to look for in basketball. In basketball, right now you're allowed to play 28 games along with a tournament. The tournament allows you extra games, 3 extra games. Well, you're saying, well, gee, Penn State played in the Daytona tournament this year. That's only 2 extra games. That Purdue-Fort Wayne game in the Jordan Center was the 3rd game of that tournament. Now, again, college sports has amazed me over the years with the lack of common sense and rules that just make no sense. Why do you need to play an exempt tournament? I realize it's good for, hey, let's go to the Battle of Atlantis. Let's go to the Maui Invitational. And you can still do that. But they are now talking about, okay, we're going to move the schedule to 31 games, and however you want to get to 31 games, that's up to you. I mean, that's what they're going to do. In other words, the exempt tournament part is out. If you want to go to a tournament, if you want to go to Cancun, you want to go to Battle of Atlantis, okay, you want to go to Maui, hey, and that's part of your schedule and it gets you to 31, great. Knock yourself out. I think that's fabulous. The Charleston tournament has been great for a lot of people. You can get a lot of really good competition. Penn State this year, for example, deliberately scheduled the Daytona tournament because Clemson was going to be in there. And it turned out Clemson was coming off an Elite Eight and had that most of that team back. I mean, it played out the way Penn State hoped it would play, except for the final score of the game. They played Clemson. But now you can schedule your 11 non-conference games any way you want. And if you want to play a game in Allentown, you want to play a game in Hershey, you want to play a game in Philadelphia, you want to play a game in Scranton, you want to play a game in Pittsburgh, okay? And you want to get the program around the state, you have now 11 options to do it. So the Big Ten will, the NCAA will talk about that, the ability to get to just the heck with the 28 and the exempt tournament, which gives you 3 games. Instead of playing that game, and it's a game, sure, you can schedule the 31 any way you want. Okay. Which then gets us to the NCAA tournament. The NCAA tournament is 68 schools. Now, look, 64 has always been the number. The 68 was, okay, there's been so much conference movement over the years. It's been 68 since when, 2010? 2011, I think, was the first year of it.
Yeah, it's been at least over a decade for sure.
I know 2011 because VCU went to the Final Four.
Final Four, yeah.
And Mike was assistant coach on that team to Shaka Smart.
Yep.
They won a first 4 game in Dayton to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So they had to win 5 games to get to the Final Four. And then, of course, Butler beat them with, ironically, Micah Shrewsbury on the other sideline.
Yeah.
Okay. But now the clarion cry is for 72-76. At one point, Greg Sankey was pushing through this idea of a quarter of the school should get into postseason play across every sport. Okay. And really? Okay. Which meant, of course, in college basketball, you're talking about between 90 and 96 schools. Well, I don't want 96 schools in the NCAA tournament. You have to have an even number. Okay. think one time the NCAA for a year or two had 65 or something like that.
Yeah.
The playing game. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like 96 schools.
Yeah, way too many.
Really?
No way.
Man.
You can't go that far. There's no way.
How long you want this tournament to go?
Exactly. And that's
Right. So now the proposals are on the table for 72 or 76. Pete Thamel reported on College Game Day that the leader in the clubhouse is 76. And again, I say the same thing that I said about 14 or 16. You're eventually going to go to 76 anyway. Just do it now. Okay? Just do it now. And I'm not in favor of going past 68. I'm not.
No.
But if it's going to happen,
Might as well leave it.
you might as well go to the 76 because I just think you're going to try and go there anyway. And the question will be whether they can go to the question is going to be whether they can go to their media partners of I always want to say Turner, but I guess it's Warner Discovery and CBS to see if there's more money available there, or if they can farm out the additional games, since they aren't a part of the contract, to somebody else to carry and get more money. Looks like our governor is going to be serving as an analyst for the Pitt-Syracuse radio broadcast. Is he a Syracuse grad, or what is he?
I don't know. That's what I wondered.
Huh. I remember for the SMU game, he asked to come over and do the pregame show. The governor's office got a hold of me. All right. And the first few questions were security issues about you. But
he's at Georgetown, University of Rochester, BA, Georgetown.
Oh.
It was JD.
Oh. Wonder why he's doing that game. Is the game at Pitt?
I think it is.
Okay. Because he asked about coming on the pregame show, and I can talk to the governor anytime. That's great. But I guess I'm not in charge of it, so I forwarded it. All right, and because and I guess they have a policy about politics and whatever. I said fine, okay, but yeah, it's I guess he's going to do that game. So everything's about the money part.
Sure.
You would probably have to get a second site besides Dayton to do these games. And I don't know. Like I said, I'd rather stay at 68, but this is going to be something that I think is inevitable. So, I mean, I can sit there and say, hey, 68. And it's like, hey, you know what? You don't die on certain hills. It's like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If that's what they want to do, okay. By the way, a mutual friend of John Capoletti's got a hold of me at USC, and great to get in contact. Because I didn't get a chance to see him, but at least have some contact with John. John's, I know he's had a couple of health issues. He's hanging in there, though. He's hanging in there, so that was good.
One of the absolute
great,
most incredible people you could ever meet, hands down. Not a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what I was telling this guy. I said everything he's done in his life. I said this guy. I said no ego.
None.
I told you the story about John trying to get into the game, right?
Might have. I'm trying to think which one.
Okay. So it turns out that John has box tickets, and instead of being on the luxury suite side, he's on the press box side. Jack Ham and I are done doing the pregame show, which at this time we were doing at the Jordan Center. We walk over, we get in line, we're right behind John. And John's like, "Hey, Guy, Jack, Steve, how you been?" The whole thing. Because remember they'd done that Big Ten icons thing, and I was a participant on it. And so we talked a little bit about that, and a few other things, and then John goes up and he hands his tickets. He's got 5 of them. 5 or 6 of them. And Truman, ding, scans it. Nothing. Scans it again. Nothing. So John hands him a second ticket. Scans the ticket. Nothing. John hands him a third ticket. Scans the ticket. Nothing. And I finally looked over. I finally said, "Truman, we've had one Heisman Trophy winner. Let him in." Truman went, "Okay."
Oh, goodness.
And look, Truman was just doing his job.
Yeah, that's absolutely. My goodness.
But it got everybody in line laughing. So
there's no doubt. And you're not wrong. Literally.
We've had one Heisman Trophy winner, Truman. Let him in.
Yeah, and one Heisman Trophy winner, an undefeated season when he's here. I think it's okay to put him in.
Look, he's just a good guy. All right, so that's where we are. The Eagles fans were great at the parade. They threw something at Howie Roseman to hit him in the head.
Unbelievable.
I mean, these are your people.
I shouldn't be laughing. My goodness, that is.
These are your people. Right. Only San Francisco fans are rated lower. What team do you root for?
Yeah, that team.
Oh. I just was asking. I don't know. It's your team is making a lot of interesting off-season moves, by the way.
A lot of pending off-season moves, I think, that are going to be happening, too, that are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I've always said you have to be very, very careful, and I'm not talking about Debo. I think Debo, to me, you listen to offers for him, but you got to be very, very careful when you get rid of the veterans because you just don't know what you have in that locker room to be that leader that can be that guy that's going to push the others. And another potential cut is going to be Kyle Juszczyk, which is one of the guys that I think when you're thinking of the core 49ers during this run, that's that guy. And look, the salary cap bites you. I get it. But you've got to be very careful when you cut the locker room leaders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. It's interesting because this is something college sports is going to be facing.
Certainly.
College sports is going to be facing. I don't mean cutting players and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
You're going to be in predicaments,
though. But you're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to hire somebody that can give you the financial jigsaw puzzle as to which players in which sports get what money. Because each one's going to have a limit as to how far you can go. And you're going to have somebody that understands how to do all that. And the 49ers obviously don't have a guy like that, so don't bother hiring anybody from that organization.
They certainly didn't in the late 90s, 2000s, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Bill Walsh went and said, "Here you go, Terry Donahue. God rest his soul, but man, he was not a good general manager." Great coach at UCLA. General manager, not so much.
Well, that's why, for example, Bill Belichick hired Scott Pioli. Scott Pioli was the Patriots capologist. Now, eventually, he was able to take that and roll that into being the GM with the Chiefs, the Falcons, so forth. But that's how he really started making his mark. He was the one that had to figure out the financial jigsaw puzzle. And that's what every college, every university athletic department is going to have to find. They're going to have to find somebody that can handle the financial jigsaw puzzle, because you're talking about, around here, there are 800 student athletes. Okay. How many of them end up getting something besides scholarships? I don't know. But there's going to be cash available. How is the cash to be doled out? Now, it's one thing to say football gets X amount, basketball gets Y, wrestling gets Z, women's volleyball gets A. I don't know. That part is being determined by athletics themselves. But you're then going to have to then say, okay, you're now in charge of money. Okay, we're trying to do this with football. How do you make sure that we get to that number but don't exceed it? But you're also going to have to work with men's basketball. How do we get to that number but don't exceed it? Now we're going to have to go to women's basketball. How do you get to that number, don't exceed it? You know what I mean? And with the number of players that you have along the way, do you start doing agreements as a possibility? Do you start doing agreements that go beyond their time here? Right? Bobby Bonilla. Right? We're going to give you X amount of money. We're going to do it over, pick a time, 6 years. Okay. Well, you're only going to play 4, maybe 3. Okay. But you may have to do things, structure things like that. I don't know. There's just you're going to have to be clever with it. And based on how you dress, you might not be as clever as you claim.
Not quite. Getting there.
Is that just a regular Nike shirt?
Regular Nike shirt, yeah.
It's Ohio State colors?
Yeah, a little bit. If they wear their alternate jerseys, I suppose. They got a little bit of black in them. No Buckeye silver or anything, no.
Well, I'm going to go over and interview Stan Drayton here. I will make sure to not tell James what you wore to work today.
That's right. Yeah, he would not be happy.
Not happy?
Not in a red jacket. He'd be very unhappy. I would not be welcome into Beaver Stadium again.
Oh, sorry. I was kind of taken away. I was almost in a dream world there for a moment.
Well, a few people stood up and applauded when I said that. That's unbelievable. Jeez.
All right. All right. Great to be with you on the show today. We will be back tomorrow. And would you like recommendations on wardrobe or
nothing red? I've learned. James, the coach, has officially taught me the lesson.
He's been here since 2014.
I know, and he even repainted walls, and I still didn't get the memo.
He's going into his 12th year. You finally figured out you're not supposed to wear it? Holy. That explains a lot in your personal life.